Good evening, students. I want to go over Module 3 with you in the event that we aren't able to meet in person for class. So let's go ahead and jump in. So it's already open online. Please let me know if any links don't work or if something's not clear. Um, so you're just going to click Module 3, the importance of planning. And the first part of the module, as usual, establishes our objectives. Gives you a little bit background for why this is important and helps you sequence our learning. And of course, we're going to establish our essential learning here. How does planning impact student achievement, and what does an effective lesson look like? These are our two key takeaways that we must get from this module. So the first thing that you are going to want to do is to engage with this lecture by Dr. Williams. She is one of my very favorite teachers, and I'm learning so much from her, and I know you will as well. So she actually had this bank of videos that were pre-recorded about lesson planning, particularly in reference to the way McNeese wants us to do lesson planning, which is aligned with national teacher preparation standards. And so I've included her lecture here. And what she's going to do is actually set the stage about how important lesson planning is, especially planning that focuses on grade level appropriate student standards. Within the lecture, you're going to need, if you look down here, I have linked these two resources, the intersection of standards and equity and the opportunity myth. So during her lecture, you probably will need to pause the video and then come back to Moodle and pull up these resources so that you can kind of follow along. Notice I've also said that you need to reflect on these 4 questions. Sorry, my battery's getting low. I've got to hurry here. You need to reflect on these 4 questions as you engage with this lecture. And you simply want to be thinking about these. There we go. I've plugged in now. So you simply want to be thinking about these questions and your responses. You don't have to actually record them anywhere at this point. Next, we're going to get into the critical stage of lesson planning. And this is where you're going to begin to practice some of this theory that's already been established in the lesson. So this folder contains very important McNeese lesson planning documents. This is the same folder that's at the very top of Moodle with our resources. Your midterm exam is to submit an original lesson plan, and that's going to be at Module 7. But we want to go ahead and start now. We want to start this process so that you can have time to really think about it and get your resources together. There are 3 videos here. Again, Dr. Williams is going to walk you through the steps of lesson planning. And I want you to really pay attention to these because this is the National Teacher Preparation Standards and McNeese's template. So this is the lesson planning template that you're going to be using in your student teaching residency. And so she walks you through how to write a lesson plan, each part of it. And I've sort of given a little description here for what each part is. This is an excellent resource that I wanted to include simply because there are some key takeaways here to just sort of help streamline the process of lesson planning and simplify it a bit. I've also provided this link to Louisiana Believes. The resource is actually going to open up to the 9 to 12 ELA teacher library curriculum, but you just need to look to the left menu and all of those buttons are all of the content areas. You simply select the one that represents your content area. I recommend that you use these to develop your lesson plan. And of course, you're going to actually use it in this module to start the lesson plan. You're not going to write the full lesson plan this module, don't worry. You're just going to start with the most important part, which I'll get to in just a moment. The next part, and it's right here actually, the part that you're going to start is embedded in our discussion. So task 5 is an activity. Part 1 is the activity and part 2 is the discussion. So your activity is actually called breaking down the standard activity. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up really quickly so that you can see what it looks like, and I'm going to talk you through it a bit. So you're actually going to type right into this document. You're going to save it on your hard drive or on your Microsoft 365 so that you can share it. And this is the very first part of the lesson plan. And it's just these 3 boxes that honestly, this is really the most important part of the lesson, is really isolating the standard and what students need to do to demonstrate that they've learned that standard. Don't worry, the lecture materials really break this down for you. So I give you some direction up here, and then if you continue scrolling down on the second page is where you will actually complete your activity, your part. And there are, I think there are just 5 steps, I believe. Yeah. And you'll actually type right into here, copy and paste and type right into here. Then, of course, you're going to save it and you will have to upload it. Had our calendar up as well. You'll have to upload it to the discussion board. I'm going to go ahead and open the discussion board so that you can see the 2 activities. So part 1 is this unpacking the standard activity. And then part 1 feedback, I tell you questions that you need to answer as the peer responder. And then part 2 is simply a response to this question. How is instructional lesson planning tied to lessening the achievement gap for our students and providing a quality education to all students? Part 2 is what you would include in your peer feedback. So look up here for the tip. I only want one thread. I only want one thread from each student. So I recommend that you complete part 1, which is the unpacking a standard activity, and you save it to your computer, jump drive, wherever you save your work. Then I recommend that you use a Word document to complete part 2. Then go ahead, get on the discussion board, create a new thread, and then copy and paste your part 2 into the dialog box, and then you will attach part 1, which is your unpacking a standard activity. So I hope that that sort of helps you understand what I'm wanting for this discussion board. I want you to begin the lesson planning part, but I also want you to be able to collaborate with peers and get feedback on it. So let me scroll down. So that takes care of our discussion. And then, of course, we've got our observations. I have put 4 videos here for you. You only need 2 hours of observation. All of these together would count, I think, as 2 hours for you. One of them might even count as 1 hour because I think there's one that's a little longer than 30 minutes. You'd have to check the time to see. Remember, if it is less than 30 minutes, it counts as half an hour. If it's 30 minutes or more, it counts as 1 hour. So you want to keep that in mind. And you're just highlighting for the 2 that we have so far, growth mindset and culturally responsive teaching. I also think it's a good idea. Of course, for these lessons, you can't see the actual lesson plan, but you can see the evidence of the planning. In fact, in this, there's a PE one. Oh, I may not have it up here. I'm gonna add it. There is a physical education one. I don't see it here. It must not be showing. I'm going to make sure it's showing. But she actually has her objective written on the board for the students to see. Several of these, the teachers are actually making their lesson planning transparent to the students by explaining what their outcomes for the lesson need to be. So that's for your observations. And then if we just scroll down, this is the reflection of essentially what you should have gotten out of this lesson. And then finally, I remind you of your 2 assignments that you have to do for the lesson. So I hope I get to see you guys on Tuesday, but just in case I don't get to see you on Tuesday, all of this is uploaded for you. On some of the videos, Dr. Williams says for you to email her. If you have questions, do not email Dr. Williams. Email me. This is for when she was teaching those particular lectures and lessons, and that was for her students. So if you have questions, email me. She's busy enough and has her own stuff to do. I hope you guys are safe. I hope you're well, and I hope to see you soon.